So I decided to indulge myself today and do a deep dive into some of the imagery of one of my favourite cards in the entire deck, the Two of Swords. And I do love this card. I think it's really important to remember the cards have pictures because we are meant to read the imagery. So whether it's your first tarot reading or whether you're into the thousands and thousands, never forget to stop and look at the card. It's really easy when you're doing a reading to either reach straight for the book and not sit and look at the card, or go straight into memory. I know this card means this. But each card has so many meanings. One of the clearest ways to know exactly what that card is saying to you is to pause and look at the image and allow your eyes and your unconscious to find the particular image that is so important to you on this day. So as we unpick the Two of Swords, I want to compare it to various other cards that can add layers to the meaning, as it were. I have done quite a lot of organisation, but I have no doubt I'm going to be searching for cards too. I mean, one of the key symbols, of course, is the blindfold. Now, we have the blindfold on the Eight of Swords, where we also have sort of the arms wrapped and the swords coming around. To me, in this case, we don't know whether she's put the blindfold on herself or not, but it feels to me more as if her sight is restricted. Whereas I personally believe in the Two of Swords, she has chosen to put the blindfold on. She has chosen to say, I don't want any more outside information. I don't want to gather more knowledge about a situation. I need to sit with it. I need to trust my own understanding now. And often I see this card in a reading where somebody has got lots of different people offering opinions, and now they just need to stop and sit with their information and decide what they want to do. So obviously that's a very clear sort of symbol connection. A card that I really connect with the Two of Swords is the Eight of Cups. Now, water, of course, in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is used a lot as imagery. But the water here is very, very specific. Maybe one of the reasons I love this card is it reminds me of Orkney, where I lived for quite some time. This feels to me like it could be an estuary. It could be a large ocean. It could be a large river. But with the rocks coming out of it, it feels to me more like the sea. And the land right in the background, it looks like it could be an island. So to me, I imagine her sitting with her back to the ocean, listening to the sounds of the waves. And of course, in the Eight of Cups, we have, I'm going to argue it's a similar landscape, what appears to be a tidal or coastal region. And then we have the moon. Now, this appears to be an eclipse, whereas this appears to be the moon. But to me, there is a lot of similarities between the two cards. And the connection in meaning would be, I see the Two of Swords as, I'm just going to stop the world now, and I want to connect with my own understanding on this situation. And I see the Eight of Cups as, I need to step away from what I'm doing to get a different perspective. So to me, the meanings are very, very similar. Other cards that have similar symbols, obviously we have the moon. Now, one of the things I say about the moon card is the moon only reflects light. It doesn't shine like the sun does. And when something is reflected, it is distorted. For example, when you do your hair or makeup, should you wear it in a mirror, you're seeing a reflection of yourself. You're not seeing the self that we see. And if you want real sort of evidence of this, then try and read in a mirror and notice how things are distorted. So there is a feeling for me with the Two of Swords that maybe the individual isn't fully understanding the situation. Maybe there is distortions there indicated by the moon, and they need just to pause and get some clarity. A card that I also love, the Four of Pentacles, has a similar vibe, shall we say. Now, I think people do the Four of Pentacles a real disservice because it's so easily read as miser. Now, it can be miser, but it can also be far more than that. We have to look at the placements of the pentacles, the fact that he's not clutching this, but he's sort of holding it, almost engaging with it from the heart space, the fact that he has a crown on. I often identify the Four of Pentacles as manifesting, Lord of personal power, stepping away to really connect through intuition, heart, and practical goals what I want or you want to manifest. So there is a feeling with both of these cards that they have stepped away from the everyday world to connect with their inner desires, dreams, and needs. For me, a clear link between the Hierophant and the Two of Swords is going to be the body posture. They both appear to be sitting on, this is obviously a throne, but their body postures are very similar. And their hands are telling opposite information. The Hierophant is communicating. His arms are open. He's communicating his wisdom to other people. Whereas the Two of Swords, people often think of this as closed off. Yes, but for a reason. Yes, but for a purpose. Closed off to understand my inner wisdom. Because receiving wisdom from other people isn't what I need right now. The white dress, I think, is interesting. It is quite a common theme. We have many cards that have a white gown, outfit, shirt. So it's quite a common theme. But if you're and the trick with this is not to memorize everything, but to use it as points of reference, so that if you're doing a reading and you, for example, realize that you have the Two and the Eight of Cups, the Two of Swords and the Eight of Cups, because you're now pausing to look at the cards, you're recognizing, both of these cards have moons in them. Both of these cards seem to have a shoreline. Both of these cards have a person who is either blindfolded or turned away from me. There is a resonance there. So if they both cropped up in a reading, now hopefully you would notice the resonance and it would add a depth to your reading. I think it's interesting that there are certain cards that where the white dress is perhaps, or the white gown is of more prominence, which would be Temperance, which I often think of as getting the balance right. The Nine of Swords. And interesting, of course, how the Nine of Swords is also covering their eyes. Only in this case, it feels to me a strong move, a power move. I can't take on any more information until I've processed what I've already got. Whereas the Nine of Swords has gone way beyond that. For me, a card that I really connect with the Two of Swords is the High Priestess. We can't quite see what's beyond the veil because we're not supposed to. But when you look carefully, it appears to be a very similar landscape. They appear to be sat on a very similar stone rectangle. They both have white dresses. There is a resonance between these two cards. To me, they are about connecting to the inner world. Two of my favourite cards as well, the Magician and Strength. I think of these as Divine Masculine and Divine Feminine. They both have the yellow background. They both have the infinity symbol. Their body postures in both appears to be really important. And of course, they're both wearing a white gown or dress. So if you got the Two of Swords with either one or both of these, to me, that would have an importance. And of course, we can also see that the Hierophant appears to be wearing a white gown or dress underneath the red robes. And these connections don't necessarily always have a meaning in every reading. But if you get the Two of Swords and any of these cards are present in the same reading, hopefully you will notice the connections. And then that will add the depth to your reading. And of course, then we have cards where two swords are important. Perhaps with the Seven of Swords, the Five Swords are being stolen so that whoever is left with the two swords can take a moment of peace and come to a better decision. Who knows? When I look at the Five of Swords, which I probably read significantly more positively than many people, because I often think about this as individuality, not being hurt by other people's words, because the swords represent words, and this chap has three, but he's holding them by the handle, unlike Mr. Seven of Swords, and he's not preparing to chase down the two losers. It is literally as if he's gathering up hockey sticks to put them back in the school cupboard. And to me, that's a real difference between these two, because this guy, he feels to me like he's not planning to use the swords, he's gathering them up. Whereas I feel that this person really is using the swords to create a safe space for them. I knew I would forget something. I got so many cards out. I'm just, it's my little reading bag over here. I knew I'd forget something I wanted to share. I'm doing more work, really trying to link the runes and tarot. And the shape of the body here is, of course, a rune. It is curious that one of my most favourite tarot cards actually replicates, if we use the spine as the central axis, it replicates one of my least favourite runes, the Hagel rune. The Hagel rune is about structure. It is about finding the stillness and the structure in times of complex change. And I'm sure you've been through times of complex change in your life. I know I have. And I know that if I make sure I take good quality self-care time out, when I stop listening to everyone else's needs and I stop listening to everyone else's opinions and I just pause and be, that I cope with the change in a much more positive way. And I have heard people refer to the Two of Swords as a card of passivity. Of course, there is a point with this card where you have to take the blindfold off and get up off the stool and get on with life. And you really need to tune in, have I stayed in this position too long? But the bottom line is, I'm going to say nobody with two swords is passive. We might imagine, if we're into our sort of medieval movies of knights and days of old, we might imagine seeing somebody with a sword and a shield. In a battle, that shield is both a piece of protective equipment, but you would use it to attack if you needed to. And if you are really good at swordplay, you can have two swords and you can use both for attack and defense. This is, to me, an incredibly strong, calm, wise, and intuitive card. It's rarely a passive card.